Funky music.
Funk it up, dude. Funk it up.
Funk it up. Funk it up. Not
funk
funky
it down.
music? Wait, why not?
I thought we talked about this.
I thought we decided.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Winners Lounge. That's right. We are presented by Circus Sports, the greatest sports book in the whole game. We were rolling with them all day long while we watched every moment of the NCAA tournament starting at 10 a.m. today, leading into the Denver Nuggets game tonight.
You mean literally all day long?
It's been an arduous journey. It's been a difficult task. We got through it. We're better for it. And we saw the Nuggets win a pretty ridiculous game against the Portland Trail Blazers. Both of those in big air quotes. Portland did not have I would say, their top 10 best players. The Denver Nuggets were missing a few important players, I would say. Nikola Jokic did not play this game. Jamal Murray did not play this game. Aaron Gordon did play this game. He showed up. It was a ridiculous night, but it was a dub nonetheless. The Nuggets win on the road. Nikola Jokic gets some much-needed rest.
Is that the fast breakdown? Is this the fast breakdown?
No, I'm just leading in.
Okay.
Do you want me to? I have a fast breakdown. You want to hear it? It's about 7 to 8 sentences long.
Really?
Number one, fast breakdown. I'm going to take you back through the joy that was this game. I want you guys to relive it like we lived it the first time. First note of the game, as with Adam, always tells the story. Reggie comes out firing.
He was firing, man.
We talked early on who was going to eat tonight. I said Reggie Jackson. Why was he going to eat? Because he had no one to take his place. He was playing with reckless abandon, was making enough shots. He ended up being the top scorer for the Denver Nuggets tonight, with mixed results nonetheless. And sloppy play by both teams to come out. This game started off pretty gross, man.
Yeah.
We spent all day watching the NCAA tournament, which you get very mixed levels of play. We were kind of hoping for a respite with the Denver Nuggets playing the Portland Trail Blazers. We got much more of the same.
How is that word not respite, by the way?
I don't know.
I think
No, it is respite, but I'm just saying, how is it not respite?
I don't know, man. We kind of hypothesized early on that we might see the Nuggets might empty out the bench. We might see a couple of fan fiction favorites, Jay Huff, Julian Strother.
Bro, our pregame show, all excitement for guys. Like, it just ended up being a shortened rotation.
The only bench player, the only like non-rotational player that we got was Colin Gillespie, who had a great game, honestly. Denver Nuggets early on went to a small lineup. They started off with DeAndre Jordan, but then went what we all were kind of clamoring for Aaron Gordon to play the 5. They brought that in with disastrous results. It did not go well. The Portland Trail Blazers quickly closed the gap. But then the Nuggets went on a run. Dude, MPJ, total no-show in the first half. He had 0 points at half.
But what about the third quarter?
0 points, I think. Maybe
I think he had 2 points. I think he had 2.
He ended up hitting some big shots as the game went on, as you expect from a player like him. But really, the story of the game, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, and to a lesser degree, Reggie Jackson, which the common denominator there, all hustle guys. This was a hustle guy game.
So that's a great point.
Great take, D-line. Great take.
It was it was gross in a lot of ways, but at the end, again, we got the dub. That's all you can hope for. Guys, I'm gonna throw it to you, the panel.
The panel over here.
What is your big takeaway from Red Hawk Roofing? Adam, I'll go to you first. How's this feel? You know what? Screw you, Adam. You go second. Brendan Vogt, you go first, please.
All right. I'm sitting on a Reggie take here, and I want to try to make sure I get it right, because it's an actual take, and it may not be right, but I want to put it out there. I want to have the conversation. When Reggie's been bad, it's been bad, and I don't know what to expect in the postseason. I don't love the process. There is a bottom line to production, though. And when you think about all the games that Denver's won anyway, even though Reggie struggled because they've had their full rotation, versus how he's stepped up in the games when they haven't had Jamal Murray, you could argue the latter is as important as anything he hasn't done in the regular season. In the games that they've needed him to elevate, he has. Now, still feel the same way I do about the floor. I am not trying to switch it up and say he's been good. and I don't know what to expect coming forward. But as far as what you are hoping from a Reggie Jackson signing in the regular season, has he become inconsistent? Yes. But how has he played when Jamal is out? And that's all I'm talking. Just in that context.
When the Nuggets need him.
And I think he deserves credit for that. I didn't love the process tonight. I really didn't. I don't think he's a point guard. But he scored 23 points on, 8 of 13 or 7 of 13?
7 of 12.
I mean, you got to tip your hat to that. You do. And I don't know what to expect going forward, but it hasn't been a total zero from Reggie this regular season because of nights like this when he's found another level. Again, is he going to be good in the playoffs? I don't know.
He is going to be good in the playoffs. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. He is going to be good, though. That's the thing about Reggie Jackson is that I have no faith in him, and yet he always comes through. I don't know how to square
and
those
yet
two
he
thoughts.
always rewards that lack
Right.
of faith.
It's just that if we're going to bemoan all the things he doesn't do on nights like this, we have to tip our cap because he did.
He stepped
that's
up.
what you hope a backup Reggie Jackson signing does is elevate in those games.
If you had lost the bailout and tonight's game, you're as close down to the 4 seed as you would be to the 3 seed. So now you win those 2 games, and now you have a game and a half cushion above the Timberwolves and are right there with Oklahoma City Thunder. So these games do matter. And the Nuggets made a strategic punt tonight.
I know.
This was a very strategic, we're not going to bring our guys, and we believe that our non-star players can get it done against this one. And it was a good bet, albeit by a hair. I was less impressed with Reggie, I think, tonight than you were. You're right that he did score some points. It was important. I'm not going to rag on the. I don't think it was bad, but it's more neutral to me. If I had to go with a big takeaway, I do have a big takeaway, and that is we talk about Christian Braun, and I still kind of believe it, that he's this guy whose ceiling is already, we already view the ceiling. It's a very low mountain he's climbing to his potential. But then you have a night like tonight where he puts up 17 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 of 16 shooting. That stat line is wild, man.
It's a wild line.
If Aaron Gordon had that stat line, I'd be like, what a game from AG. And instead, Christian had it tonight. It wasn't always pretty. He still has some things in his game that are a little bit wild. Watching him go barrel to the rim is a little bit wild. But as D-Line said, this was a hustle game. And since the All-Star break, who hustles like Christian Braun?
No one. Maybe Snoop Dogg.
But tonight, that hustle was out there, and we, and myself especially, I would say, proclaimed Peyton Watson the better defender. I still think that's probably true. But Peyton Watson has had some really, really good defensive games since the All-Star break where you're reminded, oh, yeah, that guy can shut down guys, for stretches. And he did that tonight. So Christian Braun, one of those games that was beyond my expectation for him. Even if I were to raise my expectation going into tonight, he surpassed it.
So it was determined in the pregame show the way to know the true measure to know whether or not somebody ate is whether they get featured in the Red Hawk Roofing big takeaway. Reggie ate and Christian Braun ate. I called Reggie. I am a genius, right?
But you have your big takeaway still, no? Or?
My big takeaway is that the Denver Nuggets are just kind of doing what they need to do at this point.
Yeah, totally.
I love that they didn't play Jokic tonight. I love that they didn't play Murray tonight, and they got away with it. It didn't matter. The Portland Trailblazers want no part of winning this basketball game. Even though they pretended to try, the players wanted to. They're not good enough to be able to get it done. I like it when you are strategic and it pays off. I applaud Michael Malone for taking the opportunity to sit Nikola Jokic, especially ahead of a big 5-game homestand that's coming up and with some big games in there. So, I mean, from a basketball standpoint, I think it's really good to see guys like Christian Braun get this level of confidence going. It doesn't really seem like he's exploring his game anymore. This was a very down the line kind of Christian Braun game, driving the lane, grabbing rebounds, playing with reckless abandon, and playing with hustle, playing with heart. It's great to see, especially as we're getting into this time of year where that stuff's really going to matter. For me it was I think I'm left most with. I don't know if I'm more impressed by AG or Christian Braun, but probably Christian because you expect it out of him less.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
AG, who was awesome tonight, AG should be awesome against the C Team Blazers.
Yes.
By the way, to be clear, in a way that, for example, Michael Porter was not. And AG was. But again, there's an expectation thing there for Aaron. Whereas Christian, it's like, I don't know if anyone expected him to have that game tonight, even those who were expecting him to play well. So, I mean, Christian is an A+++ game.
I know.
And he's been playing well for a while. Tonight, the rebounds, too. Like, he was very aggressive, taking it to the rack. His defense was good.
10 boards is big.
But that Josh Hart kind of, I wouldn't say comp, I would say like someone to emulate that I threw out there. Think about all the rebounds Josh Hart grabs in a game where you go.
A ton.
Like, who was going to get that if not him in that moment? And how did he get that? And CB has some of that. And I think for the last month he's been bringing it. I think tonight he brought it. So, yeah, man, there's always going to be, like, he doesn't have a huge, like, his arsenal isn't full on offense, right? It's not a huge bag. But he can apply the pressure guy every single night. And I just love the way he played this game.
I love all these takes, man. You guys are on fire tonight. I think it's funny. We always talk about Yoke gives, and this Nuggets team in general gives exactly what they need and no more. Tonight, Yoke needed nothing. And the Nuggets were right. They're like, you know what? We can do this one with actually zero output from him. We should get to AG. You're right about this. Who ate? It's who's brought up. None of us brought up AG, but he ate tonight, guys. He ate tonight.
He was eating. My man was eating.
Our own theory was disproven immediately because AG definitely.
Hey, listen, for every rule, there's an exception.
That's true.
Even if it's the first time we bring it up and it's wrong.
22 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks. And the most important part for AG, I mean, he's such a bull. He missed a lot of buddies and stuff around the rim today. He grabbed 8 offensive boards, most of those off of his own misses. Some of which his Vogt has been on are intentional. He's like throwing it at the rim because he knows his second jump is higher, stronger, and quicker than everyone else's, and it's actually a crazy weapon to have in your bag.
Going in or I get there first.
He's such a quick second jumper. But the part that, for me, makes him such a standout is that last 5 minutes, or 7 minutes, I think it actually was. The Nuggets needed to get a stop. The Blazers had tied the game, actually taken a lead, and you're feeling like, oh my God, come on, Nuggets. Do you have this? Can you just like finish this off? The defense collectively from that group was crazy, but AG anchored it. He was flying around on rotations, covering for guys when they got beat off the dribble, and then had the craziest block shot that was the result of him seeing, I can't remember who it was, Reggie or somebody maybe it was Christian, got beat, switches off onto the guy, sprints over, and then blocks the shot. And it was just one of those plays where it's like, you have to be 100% dialed in to make that play, and he did. And Yoke, and Jamal better be texting him. They better have already had a text that says, hey, man, thanks. Somebody picks up a shift or something for you, or picks up something you're supposed to do, and you're like, bro, thank you so much for that. Like,
I'm expecting that text from Harrison right now, by the way.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Where is Harrison? So where's Dev's text?
Let me check
Dev
that
and Harrison should be sending us text now.
You know what? Maybe their phone got cut off. Maybe they didn't pay their bill.
That's the
only thing I can imagine.
I think maybe my favorite way about AG as an arguably top option kind of guy game is years past, even on this team, in nights without Jamal and Jokic, but let's think Orlando. And I know I'm not a great shooter, but I am skilled, and maybe I hit 4 threes tonight.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm going to take some guys off the dribble and dance in the mid-range. And tonight, the way that Aaron Gordon forced the issue was actually not skill. Like, he elevated the volume of his bully ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude.
Like, rather than just trying to dance and hit some lucky shots, he just said, I'll just work my ass off. And if I miss it, I'm tipping it in. And I'm working for these boards, and I'm working on D. So it was like a first option performance, but he didn't change the way that he plays. Yeah. And to me, that was so cool and so impressive, because that's what AG has that maybe 3 other people in the league do. When he plays like that, like, no one plays that strong who is that strong.
He looked strong. He looked spry. He looked quick in a way. Like, he just looked in shape. AG looked like he was in control, and it's very encouraging. You expect a guy that plays as physically as he does to start to maybe wear down as the season goes on, but he's getting stronger, it seems. Like, it's pretty impressive heading into the playoffs. Like, a guy like that who you already have supreme confidence in, that comes in and gives you a performance like this on a night where, you know, he's sort of the de facto one, I guess. Like, he's the number one option for the Denver Nuggets, and he absolutely performs. It was really beautiful to see. Another guy I thought that had a really good night that hasn't been brought up yet, maybe a little quieter.
Should we push it to the other side of the break?
Okay, hey, listen. I guess you're still the shadow host, Adam.
No, I'm asking the host over here. I was just wondering.
Hey, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. No, tease it. Who's the guy?
Hey, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
That's a better tease. No, it's a way better tease.
Stay tuned.
That's a way better tease. You guys know we love our Breck beers at DNVR. I'm talking.
We might be crazy right now. We might.
Dude, we are delirious.
We're delirious.
We're on hour 11 today. Breckenridge Brewery is the official craft beer of DNVR. If you're not cranking the light beers, you got to get it on the Breckenridge Brewery. We love them. They've got a beer for any occasion. The Avalanche Chamber Ale, the Mile High City Nuggets beer, the Broncos Country Pale Ale, the Fun Slinger, which is for the Broncos technically, but that's a Jokic beer. Who are we kidding? Good Company Hard Seltzers. Check out the Breck Beer Locator at breckbrew.com to find a brew near you, or do yourself a favor and head to the DNVR Bar
his screen.
on the corner of York and Colfax. Circa Sportsbook.
Dude, Circus Sportsbook made all of our dreams come true and some of our nightmares today.
For me, it's nightmares.
Yeah.
For me, it's nightmares.
Adam, if you want, I would suggest everybody go back and watch the full stream all 11 hours.
Just start now.
Just to see some of the things that went on today. But Adam got a little reckless, then put a lot of units on NC State to win.
On the Circus Sportsbook app.
And they won.
And listen, Circa wants you to know that they do things maybe a bit differently than some of the other books. Tight money line splits, okay? Their games strive to be a minus 110 split, unlike other sports books that may post it at minus 115 or minus 120.
They're just trying to take money from you.
They keep as little money as possible on large market bets. They do not limit players based on their winnings. If you're a winner, this is the sports book for you. You are welcome.
The Circa CEO is a sports nut.
And these are the real people that are behind that Circa Sports brand that we're always pushing, who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. Come
Dude,
on.
AI?
Download the app at circasports.com. Circa Sports bets can only be made while physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 or older.
Andre Iguodala?
All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambler. That's us. Gamblers. What a day. What a day in the DNVR Sports Bar. Kel, you don't happen to have the scores for the bracket insanity, because I don't remember who's in the lead. I just wanted, I forgot.
You don't actually have to find it. You can just say who's in the lead. It's okay. Eric's in the lead.
Oh, I'm in the lead. I didn't know that.
This is also Eric's first day in the event.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
He did
$4
miss
that's
the
the
first
lead.
2 days.
How many points do you have to win a basketball game by? 1? Okay. One guy I thought had a sneaky good game. Not even that sneaky, but just not as loud as maybe Christian or AG. One Contavious Caldwell-Pope, I thought
Yeah,
was
great call out, man. Great call out.
very competent. I thought he was in control. I thought he had big shots made.
He did.
I thought
Timely.
he was very timely. I thought that every time they went to him, he performed with composure. I was very impressed by him tonight. Adam, what say you?
Composure?
Composure?
Composewell Pope.
Dude, Composewell Pope?
Composewell. No, I mean, I was just looking at, when you were going through the box, talking about how good he played, I went to the box sheet. 2 steals, 2 blocks? I would have guessed 9 steals.
I know.
4 blocks.
That, by the way, was the lock of the game. 2 steals from KCP.
What a lock, man.
Thank you to Circus Sportsbook.
What a lock.
That's a guy who never, I think my biggest overarching take on KCP across the season is I just love how hard he plays, man. And so many guys don't, especially his age. He's not the oldest guy in the league, but he's the oldest guy in the starting lineup. And there are a lot of guys around the league that just, in a night like tonight, are they going for a first-team all-defense effort without Jokic and Murray, or are they maybe coasting a little bit? There are a lot of guys out there that would coast. KCP, for a vet that's been around the block, he never takes a night off. He's not always his best, but he never takes a night off.
He's a consummate professional, a Contavious professional.
Yeah, he was very professional. But his timeliness on his shots, was it Michael Porter who once was asked, said something about, you guys don't realize how much this guy could score if he wanted to.
Right.
Like, he's got a lot in his bag that we see in, like, open runs and stuff. But this is what I don't think the average basketball fan really, truly gets about basketball. because your reference point is often like either high school or lower level organized sports or pickup basketball, which is like completely disorganized. Is you think that like everyone's just kind of doing the thing they want to do. KCP has stuff that he can go to, and he chooses like, hey, they need my defense. They need me to get in the corner, and he accepts it. He obviously does it at a high level. But he does have a little bit more to his bag that he can pull out from time to time. And a game like this obviously called for a few moments. Timeliness, the word, I think, the key word here. But his hands, Jokic has the best hands in the NBA.
Yes. Well, he has suction cups. He's a space octopus.
But I even mean the like, all right, a guy's driving through. Can you just poke it real quick?
Without
Just real
fouling.
quick, just get a
Without
finger on
fouling.
it, whatever. I think KCP's second. I think Nuggets have
Fast.
number one, number
Yeah.
two best hands in the NBA.
First team, baby.
It's a sneaky dope thing about KCP is how rarely he fouls known grifters. And like that Jalen Brunson game's a great example.
Man, this is such a great take.
That's the guy who
It's
knows
so
how to
true.
get himself to the line no matter who you are, especially if you're a guy working very, very hard. Right? That's what grifters do. They take your overzealousness and they wield it against you. But Pope is just so good at cranking it up to a high gear without committing 4 or 5 personal fouls. And these guys, I don't know. I just think that's really, really impressive. He avoids screens well. He steals without fouling. So to have a guy that's a disruptive and high-energy defender that also doesn't hurt you with his risks or gambles, like that's such a weapon. And I knew that KCP was a good on-ball defender before he was a Denver Nugget. I did not know he was this good. And I do hope the national media is taking notice.
They're not. I'll assure you of that. But the thing is that like the other day I realized, I put this on Twitter, like it just like dawned on me that we got KCP for Will Barton and for Monte Morris. And what an absolute steal that was. Like
For real, dude.
KCP is
For real.
the acquisition of Aaron Gordon and KCP, if the Nuggets weren't already in a place where a championship was assured through the growth of Jokic and Murray and those two guys, the glue guys, KCP is so important to what this Denver Nuggets team does and who they are. He brings such a, like his defensive pressure, his defensive acumen, his hustle, and the fact that he's like so unflappable. It's just like you need a guy like that in the foxhole with you. You need a guy like that in the starting five when you have players that play a certain way, and you just need a guy that you can count on, that's consistent every single night after night.
And to keep his work rate high without ever demanding much.
It's beautiful.
So many guys want to be rewarded for working hard as Pope does. If it's only 4 shots and they're all threes, he's not complaining. And
Yeah.
it's and this whole starting five really does have that, to be honest. And I really love it.
To your point though, D-Line, with Will Barton trade and Monte Morris, this championship experience and the whole arc of it all really just shows how hard it is to win a title.
Truly.
Because Jokic's the best player in the NBA. He's one of the best players I've ever seen play. Murray is a near perfect running mate for him, and in the playoffs this is incredible. But you still like the difference between a Barton and a KCP is still so wide.
Yep.
And you watch it and you're like, man, this is the thing, and this is why, Thunder fans are mad at me. Because I keep talking about how I'm not buying I love the Thunder. I
Yeah.
actually love. You guys know I love the Thunder. I'm always raving about them.
We know you love the
guys
Thunder.
know I love them, right?
We know you love the Thunder.
You know I do. But guys, it's hard to build a contender because you need every little piece. And I'm like, I think they've got 3 or 4 of the main
Yep.
pieces.
Yep.
And they've got some role players I really like, but I don't think that they have every piece, and it's so hard. And I'm not trying to be a hater. KCP is the perfect piece, and Denver
He's the
has it,
perfect piece.
and you just realize what a luxury it is that even if he was just a little bit worse of a shooter, a little bit worse of a defender, or just didn't care as much as this guy does about being a professional,
Right.
either of those things, and it's like, all right, they're a little less than,
Right.
but he's all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, my point in bringing up Will Barton and Monte Morris, not to disparage those guys, but just I didn't quite know what we were getting in KCP. He was a guy
Right.
that, he punished the Denver Nuggets when he was on the Lakers in the bubble. We'd seen him play well a couple other times. I mean, I thought of him as just sort of a solid player, and at that point in time, I thought it was maybe just good to get a change of scenery for Will Barton and maybe shake things up a little bit. I didn't necessarily see it as a piece that would solidify the starting lineup in the way that it has. But I mean, obviously, the way that it's played out, like KCP's acquisition is another one that I feel like we're going to be talking about for years and years.
I do think before his body completely gave out in that first Aaron Gordon trade year, I think there's a chance that they could have won with Will Barton and that team.
I do too.
I think there's a chance, but this is the point that we're making. What Pope brings to the table, it's different than there's a chance. It shores the floor up.
Yep.
It brings something they need that they didn't have. And even people like me who are Barton's biggest defenders, we can sit here and say, like, look, man, especially with his body being as cooked as it was, what KCP does for this group is just so valuable and so important. It might be essential. We hopefully don't have to find out. We might find out soon enough. But for now, we can just tip our hat to a guy who's given Denver everything since they've acquired him.
Yeah, man. So, all right. So, shots fired. Shots fired from Michael Malone.
Do you want to get to it? I sent it to Kale.
See what you think of this. Kale, do you have this? Michael Malone to Matt Brooks, the fantastic member of the Denver Nuggets media team. Michael Malone and Christian Braun. Aside from him and Reggie off the bench, I don't know who's going to play in the playoffs. I really don't. But CB played in the playoffs last year. His finals experience under his belt. There's a player that's pretty auspiciously left off of that list of players you would expect to be playing in the playoffs.
Colin Gillespie. It was good tonight, though.
Jay Huff, not mentioned. Jay Huff erasure.
That's a Peyton Watson quote, I think.
Peyton Watson not mentioned. Peyton Watson apparently out of the circle of trust, or at least not in.
Or at least being challenged a little bit. And I think Malone is good at this. And I think Peyton is actually a guy who strikes me as one who can respond to hard coaching. I remember, Malone challenged him earlier in the year. Peyton got better. Like, I think Peyton can hear it, and I think maybe Malone's hope is to light a fire under his ass a little bit.
Yeah.
And I also don't think that Peyton's been horrible, but I do think in these last handful of games, we've seen a separation from Christian and Peyton for sure. It's been a much less consistent from Peyton. And so, yeah, I consider that a challenge from Malone. Hey, like the runway here is short. I want to see something from him. I want to see something from him.
I mean, I would, even without this fiery quote from Matt Brooks coming from Michael Malone, I mean, I would have said that Peyton Watson did not have a very good game tonight in a game where you would expect him to be able to maybe raise his game and showcase a little bit with a lot of other players out. But I thought he got eaten up on the defensive end quite a bit. He didn't add much to the offensive end. He was largely invisible. And, a game like tonight, you really think that a guy like Peyton Watson, with his athleticism, his effort defensively, his ability to... He still got 2 blocks, so it's not like he didn't do anything. But I did think it was a little bit of a... I hate to use the word disappointing, but a little less than night from Peyton Watson. What did you see?
So what you said about the game was that this was a game for hustlers.
Yeah.
This was a game for hustling. And I think that Peyton Watson was average in that department. And you're right that there were a few possessions where you think even at average you should be able to get stops on some of the guys he was guarding, Banton and Kamara, like these different guys that are like, okay, you should be able to get these guys. And he got beat. It happens. Everybody gets beat. But to me, it's very clear who the hustlers were tonight.
Yep.
Right.
And
that's
Aaron Gordon and even KCP was a hustler. Colin Gillespie was a hustler tonight. Christian Braun was the ultimate hustler tonight. Peyton Watson, again, wasn't that he was lazy. It wasn't that he was bad or below. It's just that he was average. There was no elevation. And he should have been on there, and it was a prime opportunity for him to really pop. The thing about Peyton, and it's so tough, because I think he's a great dude, and I think he's been doing like all the right stuff for the Nuggets and this or that. I do think that from this point forward, he's going to be a different person in the offseason. This offseason is for him to start to really build. But coming out of the All-Star break should have been the time where it's like, listen, man, I'm on the court to go balls to the wall. He played 15 minutes tonight. It's not hard to go crazy for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's exactly
and he just has to, I think Michael Malone, that's more or less what he is saying here is, listen, man, you're going to play 8 to 12 minutes in the playoff. That's it.
Right.
You better be dead tired that you're almost ready to come out, because that's what we need from you on the court. We don't need anything else. We need that level of it. And it's almost like he needs a mental reset to really hone in on it, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little surprising. And for Malone to say that, I mean, I don't think that's true. I think P-Watt is penciled into the playoffs. I think it's I think it's in pen.
Doesn't Malone has done this? Did he do this last year for Christian? I'm trying to remember.
Maybe.
Because this is a move he has in his back.
Totally.
Actually, what did he say coming into the year at training camp?
Yes, he's also at times, by the way, listed Peyton as he's talked about his playoff rotation. So I would not read this as he's out. I would read this as he's challenging him to show him more. And it's exactly what you just said. That's what you described is a controllable factor for Peyton Watson. Hustle. And that's just, he should be on the top end of that list.
He does hustle for blocks.
Yes.
There are things he hustles for, but it's like, yeah, but you got to hustle on all of these other things here.
And also a player of his age and caliber right now being inconsistent, hardly a sin or untenable or
Right.
he is in a lesson learning phase of his career. There's no, especially if they're winning games, there's no crime in making mistakes if you learn lessons.
Right.
And I expect Peyton Watson too. But just as we react to what we've seen recently, he hasn't been as good as he's been earlier in the season.
Here's another take, though, on this real quick, D-Line. The playoffs are challenging emotionally as much as they are anything else. And I even think there's a little bit of this with Malone. I'm not saying he's like being a crazy genius in all of this, but I think part of this is you've got to be able to handle this. We got 12 games to go. You're out of my rotation. Emotionally, how does that feel? It's unsettling this late into the season. It's like, yeah, deal with that. Deal with that now and go out and be better, because guess what? We might be in a situation down 2-1, down 10 in the fourth, and you have to go in for a 2-minute stretch. And I need to know that you can handle these types of things.
Exactly.
So for me, it's just part of Peyton's growing, process here. And I hope he responds like a bat out of hell.
A bat out of hell, indeed. Yeah. The other thing that's kind of gone away from, like, his 3-point shot is all but evaporated. Like, it's really... Early on, I thought that was kind of one of his strengths, and it's really gone away. Even his mid-range shot the last few games has disappeared a little bit. Obviously, it's a small sample size. I don't think that he has lost the ability to shoot it, but his confidence seems to be a little off, just in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see... I mean, we obviously big fans of Peyton Watson here on the podcast, and, you want to see him... excel.
I expect this to come back around.
I do. We fully expect it to come back around, but
This is what Malone's great at, though.
Yep,
He's great at
it's so
pushing
true.
these buttons.
Strong agree.
And if Peyton is the guy we think he is, he's going to respond to this and come up really big in the playoffs. What I will say is I think it's cool that Christian, Peyton, and Strother all have each other, because they're all in like these weird, intersecting storylines. Christian, obviously, last year part of the championship team. Peyton not, but then in this year in the early part kind of surpassed him on hype and and all this stuff, and now Christian back up here, and I just think it's kind of neat. I'm glad those guys have each other and have at different points of this 2-year stretch have been the guy that's been having to put an arm around the other one, and I just think it's underrated how important that is.
yeah,
And grow up together, learn these lessons together.
they're boys. You know what I mean?
The Booth Boys.
They're the Booth Boys. They just come together. Project Dynasty. They're all, they're like in Cub Scouts together, basically.
Someone said maybe P-Watt needs to get some sun, too. Just send him to California for...
That's right. All right. Well, let's take our second break, shall we?
Stay tuned.
Hey, stay tuned. I have a third player that we haven't brought up yet
Hell
that
yeah,
I think
dude.
was more impactful than anybody else to this point.
What a tease. What a tease. Guys, we know that the Denver Nuggets, when healthy, are the best team in the league. 16-4 in the finals last year. Proved it. I like the best of the best. You know what I mean? I don't settle for anything less.
Brendan will not settle for anything less than the best.
Than the best. And that's why I F with Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get to shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. I should have led with the fact that we're talking flooring.
Yeah,
but
dude.
who am I kidding? You guys know the Empire brand.
I know. Dude, you should have seen one time Brendan attempted to F with a lesser flooring company. Do you remember that?
I do.
It was a disaster.
It really was.
It was a disaster.
I throw a full-on fit about that kind of stuff. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. They literally did the new floor in the studio.
It's beautiful.
It is so much better. They have a virtual floor designer, which is nice because this could be an overwhelming process. But you can just take a look and see how it might look.
Dude, I'll tell you,
before you commit.
When they came in here, they took photos. They gave us the virtual floor. They had it. It showed me a few images of different flooring options, and it was jarringly accurate.
Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. Eric, I do want to throw it to you for a second here because we're talking factor meals.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I know that they factored into your life here.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, Factor Meals, if you are a person that desires to eat healthier, that wants to bring nutrition into their lives, but also is a little lazy or is unable to cook for themselves, or you're by yourself, you need to have meals that are made for one. Factor is actually a really, like, the meals come, they're not like frozen food. They're not frozen. They come to you refrigerated, and so you're able to just throw them in the microwave for 2 minutes at a time, and it's like real food, like chicken breasts and pork
and a lot of
chops.
Over 35 options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto options. Plus Keto. Is it keto?
Yeah.
It's not keto.
No, it's keto. Keto is the name
been
of
alive before?
is Bruce Lee's character in the Hornet.
I don't know.
No,
man.
what about the guy that was there with OJ that night?
Kato Kalin.
Yeah, that was Kato
not a
Kalin,
word
right?
I've heard out
Remember
loud.
that guy? He was a surfer, kind of ended up.
He got caught up in the wrong.
Look, here's how you get it. Head to factorsmeals.com/Nuggets50. We're going to factormeals.com/Nuggets50 and use that code. Why is it Nuggets50? Because you're getting 50% off with Factor Meals.
Delicious. Yeah, you can also get like smoothies and things. What a great way to start a day.
What a treat. You know how I feel about smoothies.
So let's talk about it. MPJ. Let's talk about MPJ. How did MPJ do tonight in your estimation, Vogt? I'll give my point of view a little bit here. MPJ looked to me like he does every time he's put in this position where to me, early on, it seemed like he was kind of annoyed that he was playing when Jamal and Jokic got the night off. Like, why do I have to play and those guys got the night off? You always kind of hope that MPJ will step up, take the mantle, be the number one guy, but it's just simply not his game. He is a guy that, for better or for worse, needs to be fed the rock, which most players are in the NBA. Not a lot of guys can create their own shot, but, not a lot. He also wasn't really making himself big, demanding the ball, making sure that he got the rock. He seemed like when he did get it, he was swinging it away pretty quickly. It was kind of an uninspired effort for a lot of the game until the end when they actually needed him. Mike stepped up, knocked a couple really big shots down.
Turned his defense up a bit too at the end because it was not good for 3
had
quarters.
Great board. Yeah. And a night like tonight, it just, at a certain point, it's like, you just have to realize, like, you don't ask something like that from Michael Porter Jr. That's not the type of player that he is, right?
And I think you're right that's maybe the takeaway from watching him yet again without those guys. And I think it's a good way to frame it simply because the question was coming into this game in the last month, he scaled up as a second option quite well, even without Jamal. And at times even a leading scorer for the Nuggets. So we just thought, could this be the time where he's able to make it happen himself? I will say there's like two sides of this, and there are some very valid criticisms. There are some people that probably would point out that Reggie wasn't exactly passing him the ball a lot.
Right.
I think Mike had like 3 touches through a quarter and a half, and that seemed to what I think is controllable on his part is that took him out of the rest of his game. He got frustrated. He stopped playing defense. He wasn't so focused. I think he turned it on in the fourth, which is great.
Yep.
But look, man, like he's got it is true that he was getting a bit frozen out and that they weren't looking at him as a first option. It is also true that for 3 quarters he could have seized the reins a bit more as far as what was within his control. So I would give him like a C- on this game. I credit the shot in the fourth. I think his defense was much better in the fourth, but for 3 quarters he was kind of out to lunch, man. And chat, relax. We're lucky to have MPJ. Man, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about MPJ.
Why did you turn on MPJ?
Yeah, I'm not worried about MPJ as a 3rd or 4th option.
Adam and I love MPJ.
He's always discounting him.
It's kind of gross, honestly. Yeah. We are lucky to have. Let me say this to your face.
But we're lucky to have
MPJ.
Brendan, we're lucky, man.
Brendan, look at me. We're lucky to have MPJ.
And tonight, I would give him a C-. I didn't think he was very good.
This is how you know he's honest. Listen to the man.
Yeah.
Even the ones you love.
Adam, we're lucky to have
Brendan.
Lucky to have
MPJ, but
we're lucky to have Brendan.
We're lucky to have Vogt. We are
in
lucky
the
to
chat,
have Vogt.
are we really going to act like Reggie got him the ball in the first half? No, that's actually exactly what I said. He didn't get him the ball. These are all the things I'm saying. I'm trying to cover all the bases.
I love when Brendan fights a whole group of people.
Yeah.
The whole internet.
That's the jersey.
The whole internet.
That's the jersey.
My take on MPJ is I've long said this, and it's not his fault. His injuries. No, well, I'm saying his injuries are really came at the point where basketball goes, especially away from the individual. Like you're working on your individual skills, and now how does this fit? How do I start to read the court and read content? That type of stuff. I think Michael Porter's education in that part of basketball has come from playing off of Jokic.
Yep.
Like what he knows about team basketball is how do I play off and read these things. And so when Jokic is removed there, I think that he doesn't necessarily know exactly where he fits in or where he's going to find shots of this or that, and it can look awkward. The second shot, actually both of the first and second shots he took tonight, which by the way, did he only take 2 shots in the first half?
Maybe. He had like a push shot,
and then he had a pull-up that was like one dribble inside the 3-point line and then pulled up.
It's wild that a player like him can become so invisible at times.
But it was just more to me like awkward, as in the rhythm of the game was off because it was a different rhythm, and it was like he couldn't dance to that rhythm. The rhythm had changed. And again, I don't want to be too hard on him because again, what we care about is how he fits within the Jokic system, and he fits very well there. But that's just my read on MPJ, is that he is probably more so than most players prone to being thrown off his game by the rhythm changing. Yeah. And I just think a lot of that has to do with him missing key development years because he had back surgery.
By the way, another thing to point out, which is still true, if the standard is how he played as a first option, like did not even come close. But it wasn't that he was a total zero out there either. We saw a lot of guys drive to the lane and have space to do it, like drive through the lane, like Christian Braun, for example, who doesn't have a ton of moves. Chris Murray was guarding Porter like he was that guy from Oakland. Dude, he was being face guarded 30 feet away from the hoop. Yeah. That still matters. Yeah. That still helps, right? There was an open lane, but it is still like if the context is how did he step up as a first option? He just wasn't very good tonight, and that's fair to say.
But he was great in the clutch, man. I mean, the shots he did make late were super important, and it is impressive that he can go all game either not finding the rhythm, not touching the ball, or missing shots, because he actually missed some wide open looks in the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, in the clutch time, he hit 3 or 4 in a row that were like really big. So
right, and who has he been for the last month as a second or third option? Maybe the best third option in the league. So it's not.
5 of 12 is also not that bad. It's kind of funny. No, I mean, Mike has the Jokic thing where his off nights are better than you think.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Where like he was off and he shot 40% from 3, 45% from the field, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not that bad.
No, the thing is that Mike has been so good since the All-Star break. Like, he has been everything we've ever wanted him to be. He's been, he's somebody that always gets compared loosely to Klay Thompson, and he's kind of looked like him the last 10 games or whatever. And a game like tonight, I mean, like, I forgot about I don't actually remember.
How long will you remember this game?
Yeah, dude, let's talk about this. How long has it been since I don't remember. Let me check my notes to see what happened. Oh, the Nuggets won. Did you know that? This game was so stupid in so many ways that it's like you can't really take much from it, except that there are players that really shined in this game, you know? And it doesn't matter at all that MPJ wasn't necessarily one of them, but there's just things you kind of want to check a box, be like, if it comes down to it, like MPJ could do it. He's just not that kind of player.
Well, hold on. Let me go one further. They use my metaphor here about the rhythm and the dancing. He has the rhythm with Jokic. Reggie's rhythm is pretty different from Jokic. That's a very different rhythm to catch as an off-ball player who has to like get open, and get past you. Yeah, man,
that's a very good point.
You have one drummer who's like the ultimate drummer, just the best rhythm in the world. You can beat on it. Then you have one that's like mixing up some crazy little time signatures over here.
You rarely in the actual starting five, right? You rarely see Mike get exasperated with anyone's shot selection, even if it's a lot of Murray dribbling and shooting. He knows who Jamal Murray is. Right. He knows his role. Tonight, I thought Mike definitely wanted to talk to Reggie a little bit. Like, hey, man, you can throw me the ball. All that said, this is a much better result than it felt watching it. You rest Jokic, you rest Jamal. You should have won this game, but you did. And you win it on the road, and it's nice to keep pace while getting those guys a rest.
I have a question for the panel.
Okay, let's hear it.
And we did this on the watch-along.
Okay.
Who do we think causes Malone
to
have the most rage timeouts?
Wow.
We'll send out a gold, a silver, and a bronze for this.
Who is the source of rage for Michael Malone.
Specifically rage timeouts. Because you saw tonight he had one, and the camera didn't catch it perfectly because it was more in the background, but he ripped, like, David Adelman, by the way, always even killed. David Adelman has the board in his hand, and Malone ripped it out of his hands.
Sweet.
As if I like Yeah, exactly. And Adelman's like over here, like, damn, man,
it's pretty good. I like that move.
What did I do?
Yeah, no, it's MPJ. It's definitely MPJ. MPJ is the most rage-inducing for Michael Malone, and he's not been causing him consternation that often of late. But big throwback rage game for MPJ and Michael Malone. We also said Zeke Naji on that list.
You think he's the silver?
He just doesn't get in enough. You know what I mean?
If you weighted on a curve, though.
Yeah, you said like a per 36.
Per 36.
Per 36.
Per 100 possessions. What are his advanced rage timeout?
Yeah, on a curve, Zeke Naji rates really high. Yeah, who do you think? Who's the ultimate rage inducer of B-Vote? Who's the Brendan Vogt of the Nuggets?
Yeah. It's definitely Porter. It's definitely especially Porter's defense tonight. Malone snap back into some old habits. He's like, oh man, I haven't gotten to lay into this guy in a minute. It's definitely MPJ.
I know, he's like, putting on an old pair of shoes.
It's definitely Zeke Naji just for the grab the fucking rebound clip we got last week. I think that's the one. I think that's the one. And then there are the guys that he just
all-timer.
Then there are the guys he just coaches hard. Like, I think Christian Braun and Peyton Watson are guys he's just not afraid to say that's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know? And to be honest, Mike also responds really well to tough coaching. That's part of it, too.
I know. Dude, that's the thing. Like, this is what we're going to look back on. Like, Michael Porter Jr. has so many things you can look at, and there are a lot of preconceived notions that you can come at Michael Porter Jr. with, and most of them are wrong. Like, he seems like a pretty boy. He seems like a 90s R&B star. He seems like maybe a guy that is, like, cares about his looks or this, that, or the other.
Think he's not that curious.
I wouldn't think that. I don't. Do you think that?
I would say he doesn't.
Do you think
he doesn't look curious?
He doesn't look curious.
But he's really curious.
He's increasingly curious.
Yeah.
The thing that's so interesting about he just also seems like, he's like a guy that's had his whole life spoon-fed to him. Everybody's been catering to him his whole life. Michael Porter Jr. has had, he is a way better guy than you expect. He's a way harder worker than you expect. He is
a good teammate.
He's a good teammate. He is resilient. He doesn't really early on in his career, it seemed like maybe he was going to be a little petulant. He would demand the ball. He would pout, things like this. It's not really part of his MO. It's
so true, man.
He's really a lot better guy in so many ways than you would necessarily expect by looking at him from the outside. And I think as we look back on the Michael Porter time in Denver, hopefully it's a long one. I think that we're going to look at him as just a guy that was just a really good piece of this team and a really good person in general, right?
Sacrifice is the hardest thing, and basketball, and this team in particular, requires it. And to me, he sacrifices the most of what what people expect of themselves. He sees himself as a superstar, and he sacrifices the most in regards to that.
Totally. I think there is where I credit him most is his instant perspective on his injuries, the way he just approached that as an athlete.
Yeah.
It just seemed to give him perspective on what to expect from himself, what he can and should provide day in, day out, what it means to fit into a team. He was asked about playing against Wemby the first time in the year, and he talked about how he kind of felt bad for him because Wemby was this top pick that had to go to a bad team where it's hey, go do everything, but no one knows their roles. And Porter said how grateful he was to be drafted into a team that has a hierarchy. And I just don't know. Maybe it does. I just don't know if that's his perspective without those injuries. I definitely credit him for the gratitude and the instant sort of reassessment of how he should approach all of this.
Yeah.
I just think that's look, man, I know a lot of people that quit easy, and I'm one of them. And
dude.
The guy's the opposite.
Brendan quits Easy.
Dude, if I had 3 back surgeries and you asked me to play basketball, I'd tell you to get the shit out of my face. You know?
Brendan's had 0 back surgeries. If you ask him to play basketball, you get that same.
So that's just stuff that has to be appreciated, in my opinion. You know?
Dude, I really couldn't agree more. I actually think that because of all of the things that life dealt to him early on, it gave him perspective beyond his years. He has, a lot of people when they're young, obviously, you don't really understand the gravity, the fragility of life, like how this can all be taken away. It's been taken away from him multiple times already. And it's remarkable to see, like, the way that he has responded in such a mature way. And it's honestly, like, really inspiring. I am very impressed by Michael Porter Jr., and I see a lot of growth in him, even though he kind of sucked tonight.
Can I ask one other kind of fun question? Are we
how
done?
fun?
So fun, dude.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready then.
So we've been watching March Madness all weekend. Who would be the most fun Nuggets player at their current state of playing to drop into a college basketball team just to see how they do? Obviously, the answer is Jokic, so let's just take Jokic off the board. So let's just take him off, because this would have been the easiest question on earth.
A couple things. Can you imagine putting a player into a college basketball game that could make a basket?
It's unheard of.
That would be unbelievable.
I just think about AG with how strong he is and how all these like full-sized 28-year-old prime of their career athletes just get knocked onto their ass trying to stop him.
AG in college, it really didn't look that different. I remember he was jumping over everyone. Yeah. They were like, we're not. There's guys who, this joke's overblown, getting ready for the enterprise career out there watching that guy jump, going, I don't know, fellas. I don't know if we're going all the way this year.
But the difference was last year back then he was jumping over guys. Right now he jumps through everyone, man. Yeah, there was a play tonight. He had 3 guys draped over him, grabs the ball, like somehow finishes with a dunk through all of them. Do you guys know how hard that is to do? Just the littlest bit of contact like dunk? That, takes all your jumping momentum away.
Not be clear, him. No, I don't. Yeah, no idea how. It seems real hard when I try.
I would count it as impossible. Dunking is impossible.
I do think.
How many dunks would he get in an NCAA game if you just dropped him onto Oregon tonight versus Creighton? How many dunks would he have had? 12
all of the dunks.
I do think AG is now on a short list. I put Zion on here too, where. I think of all the most annoying things you might have to do on any given night as an athlete, you're like, all right, man, we're just going to need you to stand tall. He's going to back you down a bunch. You're like, I might as well get hit by a car, actually.
Yeah,
like Zion and AG. Like, the sternum's bruised.
You're like, what if I just retire instead?
Yeah, you're like, how about you do it? Fuck off.
Yeah, dude, I'm due up wreath. I'm not out here to take punishment.
Right.
What a treat, guys. What a night. Treat. Just a quick run through. I thought Colin Gillespie had a really good night. I think I'm impressed by him pretty often. Yeah, he plays with he is steady Gillespie. He is composed. I do think there's a place for him in this league. I don't know if it's with the Denver Nuggets, unfortunately, but I do think that Colin Gillespie is talented enough, and he's skilled enough, and he's cerebral enough to find a little way in this league. I was surprised, though, we didn't get more bench players. I'm surprised we didn't see Julian Strawther. I was surprised, and I was not sad, but I was surprised we didn't see Jay Helf. Just kidding. But I was surprised we didn't see Hunter Tyson. This seemed like a night to be able to do it, but I guess the Portland Trailblazers kept it a little too close to maybe get a little leeway there.
There's also, I think we outlined it well in the pregame show. They identified it as a game where without Jamal, 1-game road trip, maybe we rest Jokic. But they weren't throwing this game. It does matter in the standings. They did want to win. So I think it's interesting how they, like you just said, it's not like they threw it to a 12-man rotation tonight. Like the Denver Nuggets went in there and Michael Malone coached to win this game.
Yeah. All right. You guys, anything else you want to talk about? All right. Kale, do we have any super chats tonight? Do we have any sickos that wanted to fund the sicko charge?
Ryan B. Truly one of the sickest of sickos.
Oh my God, Ryan B. Right, seek
100%
help.
True, man.
Take your $2 back and put it towards a therapist.
Cedric Exquisite, AG Magic, stay healthy and 1 seed. Cat laughing face, sunglasses cool face. Hi Eric, heart emoji, smiley emoji, sunglasses emoji, cat laughing emoji.
Cat crying laughing.
Cat crying laughing emoji.
Thanks, man.
Cedric Exquisite, Adam, let D-Line host. We're gonna have a mukbang, right? Bashir Daoud. You guys all rock. Brendan, you're the goat at pronouncing my name. Adam, you suck at it. By the way, you are taller in person.
Oh, did we meet Brashear tonight?
Do we sit Murray and Jokic against the Grizzlies? JJJ versus AG.
I would. Listen, I think rest at this point in the season is invaluable. It's the most important thing to make sure that Murray and Jokic are at their absolute best going in, all while being mindful of the fact that we are still trying to win that number 1 seed. I think I really think, like, people don't seem to care about it. I think it's a big deal. What do you guys, how do you feel about that?
About rest versus 1 seed?
Yeah, like, I mean, where does the balance, like, where's the Venn diagram?
I just don't think Oklahoma City's making it to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, but I also still think you want the 2 seed. So there's like,
you want the 1 or the 2?
I mean, I would love the 1, but I'm saying if you're not going to catch it, you still want to stay above Minnesota. So I don't know if it's rest guys' time. You know, Murray is actually hurt. Jokic, this is when they do rest him, these 1-gamers. So I would expect Jokic to play.
Yeah. Oh, I think the Nuggets looked at this and thought they could thread the needle, and they were right. Precisely. I think it was like, man, what if we could get Murray and Jokic 4 days off? Yep. Then you have the upcoming slate is 5-game homestand. It starts with Memphis, which in theory should be a little bit easier, but there's some toughies in there, including Phoenix. You know, they get the Cavs. You have some tough games coming up at home, but being at home, that's the most rested you are. So you get 4 days off for your 2 key players. Then you get 5 days with no travel. That's huge, man.
It is huge.
So the Nuggets might have threaded this perfect needle to get this.
Yes.
Smart. Michael Malone has never shied away from being strategic at the end of it, be it to avoid a particular matchup. Like, he gets kind of in his bag around this time of year.
On that point, I think that is also why we didn't see Hunter Tyson tonight or Julian Strother or any of those guys, because I think this is a little bit of we're not messing around. It's not the messing around period.
Right.
We're not in experimentation. We're not in giving minutes to new guys.
Right.
Colin, you know, they needed a point guard tonight, and also he had been a guy that they've actually gone to a handful of times already. But I think we're past the point of, hey, why don't we throw Strother out there and see how he does? I think it's like we're going to only playoff guys from here on out.
And there's a last super chat in here, guys, and it calls out a player that I'm glad it did. DJ can play in limited minutes. I actually thought DeAndre Jordan was pretty good tonight.
He got blocked at the rim like 3 times. I couldn't get over that. But
that's fair.
My whole thing with this whole thing, because this is where I'm being the Grinch on all of this. This was a bottom of the Western Conference team missing their starting lineup.
Well, yeah.
So, like, I just want to
who's also missing their secondary lineup.
What's that?
This is like their tertiary lineup.
This is their tertiary lineup. So I just want to say, like, DeAndre goes out, he's a +10 tonight. You know, you have these Colin Gillespie, like this or that. It's literally the worst samples you could get. And I'm not trying to put anything down on them. They played well. Some guys didn't play well tonight against that same sample size. So I clearly understand what it is. But I just have seen this so many times where it's like, oh, we went into that tanking team who was resting all their players, and that one guy who's the third stringer played well. He should play more. And it's like, well, all right, hold up a second here. DJ did a great job in the exact role he was here to do, which is Yoke's out. Yeah, now you have to play, and he did a great job at it.
Both he and Reggie, man. Like, yes, they should find a way to produce against that team, but they did, you know.
But you are right about one thing. You're an absolute Grinch. How are you going to... Poor DJ, poor Colin. They came out, they pour their heart out. Not good enough for Adam. He doesn't think that their efforts are good enough. I
bet you he does play in the playoffs, though. His point about playing in the playoffs, I could see there being, like, one game where he plays a 4-minute stint.
It's important. Sometimes you just need a big body. And obviously DeAndre Jordan's been around for a long time. It's like he can certainly play in the playoffs should it come to that. Okay, guys, I think that's probably enough, right? We've been here for, 45 hours? Hour 49?
Guess what? We're back tomorrow.
Oh, my God.
To watch your CU Buffaloes.
To watch my CU Buffaloes. I am going to put my entire bank on Marquette. Can't wait for that to happen.
That is a great way to end the week. That is a great way to go.
That would be fantastic. I'm going to make sure that everybody hears. Anyway, whatever. You'll see it tomorrow. No one will appreciate it. That is a CU, whatever. Guys, what a great night. What a treat. Me, you, the fellas. Spencer was here with us all night.
Spencer was a homie. Shouts to Kale. Kale's been producing. We just said we just went 48 hours. Kale's been producing for a majority of those 48 hours.
I would fall asleep.
And it's actually a very, like, as far as things go, technically challenging. There's setup, there's teardown, there's all these different pieces.
You're listening to other people talk for 12 hours.
Super producer Kale's been holding it down, man.
That's right. And one factor you can't discount, he was wildly hungover to start the day. And he fought through it.
Way to push through, Kale.
You're the man. Way to go. Hey, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go, Nuggets.
Let's go.